Can you imagine Albert Einstein, like, trying to figure out the theory of relativity, in some loud party?
Oh, I don't think so.
Me neither. But it does kind of make you think, right? It's World Introvert Day, and we're going to take a deep dive into introversion, a world that I think is often really misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a whole bunch of articles here, news pieces, opinion columns, even a few of those celebrating introverts lists that pop up.
Right.
All about this unique personality trait.
I love it.
It's kind of like your cheat sheet to understanding what it really means to be an introvert and like why it's something to actually, celebrate, not shy away from.
Exactly. And I think one of the most fascinating things is how introversion is so often confused with shyness.
Oh, yeah.
But they're really not the same thing at all.
So let's, right off the bat, let's clear that up.
Yeah.
It seems like, from what I've been reading, introversion is more about how you react to stimulation, especially social stimulation.
Right.
It's that whole recharge your batteries idea. Right.
Yeah. Introverts tend to find that their energy is restored in quiet and less stimulating environments.
Yeah.
You can kind of think about it this way. Extroverts get energized by being around people, and then introverts recharge by spending time alone.
So it's not that introverts dislike people.
Yeah.
They just find large groups or just constant interaction kind of draining.
Yeah.
If some people love roller coasters and other people would much rather just have a nice walk in the park.
Right.
You
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And just people have different preferences for those kinds of activities.
Yeah.
Introversion exists on a spectrum.
Okay.
Not every introvert is the same. Just not every extrovert is the same.
Speaking of spectrums.
Yeah.
One of these articles mentioned that introverts actually make up a pretty significant part of the population.
Yeah.
Somewhere between 30 to 50%.
Huge.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
I think almost half the people we know. And it makes you wonder why there's such a push to be outgoing and the life of the party all the time.
Right. There's this pressure to be extroverted.
Yeah.
And, a lot of parts of our society are set up to kind of emphasize extroversion.
Yeah.
Which can sometimes make introverts feel like they need to change or, fit into a mold that doesn't really work for them.
But when you think about it, some of the most impactful figures in history, we're talking Einstein, Rosa Parks, even Bill Gates.
Totally.
These were introverts who really embraced, their quiet strength.
Yeah.
I was actually just reading about J.K. Rowling.
Oh, yeah.
And she said that she actually came up with the whole concept for Harry Potter while she was on a delayed train ride.
Wow.
By herself, just totally alone with her thoughts.
That's amazing.
Can you imagine?
That's so cool.
That's wild.
That's a great example of how solitude can be a breeding ground for just incredible creativity and deep thinking, which I think are both hallmark strengths of introverts.
Yeah.
The articles we have here really emphasize this a lot.
Yeah.
Emphasizing how introverts excel in problem solving, creative thinking, and really detailed observation.
Interesting.
And they often have a really deep capacity for empathy if they're very tuned in to other people's emotions and needs.
So it's not just about being quiet.
Right.
It's about these unique strengths that come along with that preference for a less stimulating environment.
Exactly.
But here's where I get curious. One of the articles actually claimed that introverts can sometimes make more effective leaders.
Oh, really?
Now, isn't that a little bit counterintuitive?
Yeah.
We usually think of leaders as being charismatic and they can command a room, right?
Yeah, totally. They're the ones who are super outgoing and, commanding attention.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is that research has shown that introverted leaders can do really well in certain situations.
Oh, okay.
For example, they tend to be great at managing teams of proactive employees.
Interesting. They're less likely to feel threatened by really strong personalities, and they're often more receptive to suggestions and ideas from their team.
So it's less about being the loudest voice in the room.
Right.
And more about creating a space where everyone feels heard and valued.
Exactly.
Which makes me think of that stereotype that introverts are antisocial.
Oh, yeah.
Which I feel is something that gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
But these articles seem to paint a different picture. They really emphasize that introverts often form really deep and meaningful relationships. Is that something that you see too?
Absolutely. It's more about quality over quantity.
Yeah.
When it comes to social interaction for a lot of introverts.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily avoiding connection with people altogether.
Right.
They're just more selective about who they spend their time with and how they engage with them.
So it's like they're investing that social energy wisely.
Yeah. They're focusing on those deeper connections
Right.
rather than spreading themselves thin
Exactly.
across a wide network.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And I think while we're talking about these misconceptions, there's another big one that we have to talk about, that introverts lack confidence.
Oh, yeah.
The sources really push back against that idea.
Yeah.
Emphasizing that just because someone is quiet doesn't mean that they're timid or insecure.
Yeah. I was reading about a study that actually found that introverts can be incredibly articulate and engaging, in situations where they feel comfortable and they've had time to process their thoughts.
Right.
Like they might not be the first to jump into a debate or anything like that.
Yeah.
But when they do speak, it's often with this depth and this insight that really captures people's attention.
Right. Because they've been thinking about it,
Yeah.
They've been thinking it through.
Yeah.
They're 10 steps ahead.
Totally.
They've considered all the angles before they share their thoughts.
Makes you wonder if maybe our definition of confidence needs a little bit of an update.
Yeah, I think it really raises some interesting questions about how we view and value different types of communication styles.
Yeah.
We often equate confidence with being really outspoken and assertive.
Yeah.
But what about that quiet confidence of someone who's really considering their words?
Yeah.
And speaks with intention.
Totally.
That's powerful too.
So how do we move towards a world that values both introverts and extroverts?
Right.
And recognizes those strengths that each group brings to the table.
Yeah. Well, the sources that we're looking at offer a few steps that we can take.
Okay.
One key thing is respecting the need for solitude and downtime.
Yeah.
Introverts need time alone to recharge, to process their thoughts.
So maybe resist the urge to fill every silence with chatter?
Exactly. Silence can actually be a really powerful tool for reflection, for creativity.
Ouch.
Another suggestion is to create environments that allow for quiet reflection and focus.
Okay.
That could mean providing quiet spaces in workplaces or schools, or just being mindful of noise levels in general.
It's about recognizing that different people thrive in different environments. I know personally, I find it so much easier to focus when I have some quiet.
Right.
If I'm constantly bombarded with noise and distractions, my energy just drains and my creativity goes way down.
Totally. And then I think finally, it's really important to value the unique contributions and the communication styles of introverts. They might not be the loudest voices in the room, but they often have such profound things to say.
It's like that saying, still waters run deep.
Yeah.
Sometimes the quietest people have the most insightful perspectives.
Absolutely. And we shouldn't forget the power of active listening.
Oh, yeah.
Introverts are usually really good listeners, which is so crucial for building empathy and understanding in any relationship.
So instead of viewing introversion as something that needs to be fixed or overcome, let's celebrate it for the strength that it really is.
Exactly.
World Introvert Day, which is celebrated every year on January 2nd, is all about increasing awareness and appreciation for this personality trait.
Yeah.
It's like a reminder that embracing diversity in all its forms just makes us stronger. Makes you wonder, what are we missing out on when we're not making space for those quieter voices,
Yeah.
We've talked about all these different parts of introversion, the strengths, the misconceptions, how introverts thrive. But I want to bring it back to you, the listener.
Yeah.
What really resonated with you in this deep dive?
Yeah, maybe it's made you think a little bit about yourself, And maybe you're starting to see some of those introverted traits in yourself or seeing the people in your life who are introverted in a new light.
One thing that really stood out to me was how much our world seems to prioritize extroversion.
Yeah.
Even in places where it might not be the best approach. Like those open plan offices that everybody complains about.
Right.
What if almost half of the people working there actually do better when they have quiet to concentrate?
Exactly.
Maybe we need to rethink those designs.
Yeah, it's a really good example of how understanding introversion can lead to practical changes that can benefit everyone.
Yeah.
Maybe this has given you some ideas for how to better support the introverted people in your life. Maybe it's as simple as just being mindful of the noise level.
Yeah.
Or offering a quiet place for them to go to if they need a break from everything.
Or even just appreciating how they communicate and interact with the world.
Yeah.
Like, not everyone has to be the life of the party to be valuable.
Exactly. Recognizing and valuing those differences is
Yeah.
so important
It really is.
to create a more inclusive and harmonious society.
So as we wrap up this exploration of introversion, I kind of want to leave you with this thought. How can you embrace your own introversion?
Yeah.
Or understand and support the introverts in your life a little bit better?
Maybe it's speaking up for quieter spaces or challenging those misconceptions that being introverted means you're shy or weak.
Yeah.
Or just taking the time to listen
Yeah.
and appreciate the unique perspectives that introverts bring to the table.
We've really only scratched the surface here,
Yeah.
but hopefully this deep dive has given you some stuff to think about, some new ways to look at the world of introversion.
For sure.
If you want to go deeper,
Yeah.
we really encourage you to check out the articles that we talked about.
Yeah, they're full of great information.
They have tons of fascinating info and helpful advice.
Yeah.
And remember, whether you're an introvert, an extrovert, or somewhere in between,
Yeah.
your way of being in the world is something to celebrate.
Beautifully said. It's all about embracing the full range of human personality and recognizing that diversity in all its forms
Yeah,
is a strength, not a weakness.
absolutely. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring.
Yeah.
And remember, the quietest voices often have the most profound things to say.
I love it.